Hello and welcome to the Week 3 wrap-up. This is your instructor, Carissa Delkey. So in Week 3, we really got to focus on chapters 28, 29, 32. So you got to learn more about compounding procedures. And while the chapter touched upon sterile compounding, there is an entire other chapter to sterile compounding that you'll see later. But this was a great way to give you an introduction as to what happens with sterile compounding, why sterile compounding is needed, and what can happen if we don't use sterile compounding. So I posted some videos in the discussions, and I was happy to see a lot of you reviewed those videos and have a better understanding of those processes, so then you can better understand why sterile compounding is needed. I did post a email to everybody last week to remind you guys on the use of quotations. It is very important that you remember that you do have to apply quotations or an according to statement, as well as an in-text citation whenever you're quoting or paraphrasing another author's work. Please keep that in mind. There was a couple unintentional plagiarisms this week because of that, and I know that you were trying to cite the information, but you have to follow proper formatting for APA, which is the use of quotations or according to statements, as well as in-text citations and full APA formatted references. So please check your grading notes on that, and if you have any questions, let me know, because I'll be more than happy to help you. We also have the Writing Center through the homepage of the course. So if you need help with writing, definitely get help as soon as possible, so that way that doesn't carry over into other classes. Your assignment was your workbook responses. So for those of you guys who have been following along with the workbook or the handouts that I've been providing, you guys have been doing a great job. I can always tell when you've used the workbook versus when you've just tried to complete the assignment through Canvas. Not only does the time usually reflect that, but I can usually see that in your responses as well. It's much easier to go through as you read and answer the responses versus trying to do it all after you've read the 3 chapters. So kudos to you guys who are keeping up with that and who've done a great job with that. And the assessment was just from all 3 chapters. So you had elements from chapters 28, 29, and 32. So good job on those. For the most part, the assignment scores were wonderful, and the assessment scores were good as well. So awesome work in week 3. I hope you have a better understanding of other types of pharmacy, alternative pharmacies that you never knew about before. And also you have a better understanding of health insurance. Health insurance is an important component to healthcare. It's going to follow you everywhere. The only place you won't see health insurance is in a hospital. Because unless you're a medical biller and coder, then you will see that, because we have a medical billing and coding department in the hospitals that specifically take care of that. So I hope you guys got a lot of information, and if you have any questions about the content, feel free to let me know. I'll be more than happy to help you with it. So week 4, final week of the course. So this is the final week for the course. So you have chapter 34 and 36. It's not a cumulative assessment. It's a assessment of chapters 34 and 36. But I do mention in the live lecture that the way the textbook works is if you're on chapter 34, it's expecting you have done chapters 1 through 33. So sometimes you may see elements from other chapters, especially when it comes to the inventory management perspectives, because there's other things from the health insurance chapters that it kind of brings up in that content as well. The final does close at 11:59 p.m. Mountain Time Saturday, so it will auto-submit at that time. So make sure you give yourself enough time to complete the final. Don't start at 11:50. That means you'll have 9 minutes and it'll auto-submit. So I can't reopen those if they auto-submit on you. Also, the only way you could submit a late final assessment is with documentation that would allow me to submit an extension request with the Dean of the Health Sciences program. The career integration quiz. So basically with this, it's like you've done other courses. What was the most value? Really focus on the content with these. General statements are not accepted. So things like, I really liked the lecture because they were available. That's a general statement. So that doesn't tell me much about it. But if you're, for instance, I put a example here, because it does have to be a minimum of 50 words, and it really should focus on what you've got out of the content and what you plan to do with it. So how do you think you can use it? So I put an example statement here. In this course, I learned about blank and blank. Until this course, I never knew that pharmacy technicians perform this role and what an impact this has on how the pharmacy runs. Now I understand that technicians, and then you could put in a statement there, which I can use to better understand my role as a blank. So if you're not planning on becoming a technician, that's okay. But if you're planning on becoming a medical assistant, understanding how health insurance works is very important. understanding alternative types of pharmacies, because you may be experiencing those types of pharmacies if you're dealing with patients. Or let's say you can refer back to pharmacy laws and ethics, because those are some things that are going to be very important that are going to cross over to different fields of healthcare. And then you could fill in, now I understand that technicians, so for instance, if it was going back into the health insurance, that technicians perform the adjudication of claims, that they have to understand what the different types of insurance are, the use of Medicaid, the use of Medicare, the different types of Medicare, which you can use to better understand your role, let's say, as a medical assistant. So that's an example of a statement that is a great career integration statement, and that really helps you to kind of self-reflect on the material. So if you have any questions about it, let me know, but negative responses are not accepted. Those receive a 0. And I do look at to make sure you're meeting the minimum length. So it does need to be about 50 words. And so you figure at least 3 strong sentences. Sometimes it may be more, and that's okay. But just keep that in mind when you're filling those out. Give yourself enough time to be able to fill those out. They don't take nearly as much time as the assessment for week 4, but just give yourself time so you can complete that at any point during the week. So with this being the last week of the course, if you guys have anything you have questions about from the previous 3 weeks, let me know. But I hope you guys have had a wonderful experience in this course. I know the calculations on week 2 are tough, but thank you for hanging in there and for doing a great job. And I look forward to seeing you guys hopefully in future pharmacy courses.